Joining me now is Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn, a real G. So happy to have him here on the set with me. And back with me is MSNBC legal analyst Charles Coleman Jr., a civil rights attorney and former Brooklyn prosecutor. These guys have been friends for a long time. So happy to have them with me together. Officer Dunn, I just want to first start with you. I want to thank you for your defense of democracy on that day. And I just want to ask how you're doing, because you went through something traumatic. You've had to relive it several times, and we saw you get emotional during some of the testimony. So how are your spirits?
It's all right. I've had well, thanks. Good to be here.
Yes, likewise, brother.
I'm doing all right. The hearings and everything, they are bringing out a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
But it also is bringing out a lot of facts. So we had our opinions about what happened. Everybody thought, oh, we know what this is about. We know what happened. But being able to actually have those confirmed now through these hearings, it's I could feel a little vindicated for feeling the way that I did.
Yeah. That's good to know. I'm just curious, because you're saying we've got all these facts in the hearings. What has been the most revealing thing that you've heard during the hearings?
That's a hard one, because, like I said, I thought a lot of these things that are already... I didn't know how... the most revealing thing has been John Eastman.
Yeah.
I had no idea how much of a scumbag that guy is.
Yeah.
I didn't pay much attention to, what went on behind the scenes to formulate the plot of January 6th. I just dealt with the execution.
Because you were right there on the front line.
Correct. So I had no idea what was going on. But now being able to see what has been going on about it, what a total horrible human being that man was.
Yeah.
Or is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, Charles, I think about what led to this point. This is why I'm hesitant to say, oh, Mike Pence is such a hero. Like, you want credit for something that the Constitution dictated, but you were still a part of an administration that very much led to this moment today. So it's going to be a lot of hero painting after.
Yeah, we've really got to be careful about this narrative that romanticizes Mike Pence. Let's be very clear about something. He did the right thing. He did what he was supposed to do, but Mike Pence is no hero.
Yeah.
And I think that we have to be honest about that in terms of this conversation. And the reality is, and you've said it, you just said it, there are so many different things that this administration did that were on the fringes of legality, if not infringing upon the rights of Americans, disenfranchising them, that led us to this place and led us to this point that Mike Pence was complicit in for the duration of this term. And so while you stand up and do the right thing once, you get a clap. You get one applause. You are not now lauded as this hero, and this does not erase the entire tenure of who you were in office up until this point.
Yeah, and the clap is generous, because you still get the side eye for me, to be honest. Officer Dunn, because you were there and experienced it in a way that none of us can even remotely relate to. I was amongst the crowd that day, but I was not inside the Capitol, and I did not feel like my life was in danger. You did. What does justice look like to you?
So it's interesting that you say that. I had a talk with a few of my coworkers, in light of the hearings and all the information that's coming out. And we say, I've been fighting. The reason I spoke up is for accountability and justice. And I asked them, what do you think accountability to? What is your definition of accountability? And I had to think about it, because I was like, is it jail? Is it never? So I had to think about it. So I came up with the definition for myself, whatever it takes to make sure they or nobody else ever does it again. That's what accountability looks like to me. You find me $10,000, yo, all right, I'm good. I ain't gonna do it no more. Chill.
Yeah.
You find a millionaire $10,000, whatever. That's okay. That's it.
Right.
Like some of these,
that's a really good point.
Some of these sentences that some of these rioters have gotten had to serve 10 days in jail on the weekend.
Yeah. Right.
Like, that's not accountability.
Some people got to go to Mexico
on vacation. So that's not accountability. So whatever it takes, and that's the Justice Department, that's their job. We do the enforcement of the law. They do, they interpret the laws and stuff like that. So that's their job. So whatever it takes for somebody not to do that again is what I'm looking for.
Yeah. So. And let me ask, because we've seen footage of members of Congress who may be a part of the insurrection being helpful. Do you feel comfortable working on the Capitol again, knowing that lawmakers themselves could potentially be in cahoots with some of these bad actors?
So you know, whether we like it or not, our political views people are allowed to feel the way that they want to do. That's fine. And my job as a U.S. Capitol Police officer is to be able to provide an environment where Congress can do their job safely and effectively. What I focus on doing my job is my coworkers around me, surrounding myself with those officers and making sure that we have each other's back because, you know, this would go back a little bit to your point about Mike Pence doing his job. We signed up for it. We signed up. We know that there's an opportunity that something bad could happen. We know that there's an opportunity when nobody wants it to happen. So when people say you did your job on January 6th, that's what we did. So when Mike Pence is being called this hero, that's what he did his job.
Yeah.
He did his job, and that's what we will continue to do at the Capitol. So
yeah. Well, you are a hero, but I want you to take a listen because I just want to remind the viewers, the American electorate, what happened that day to never forget. So take a look at people shouting, "Hang Mike Pence" that day. Take a listen.
Mike Pence, I hope you're going to stand up for the good of our Constitution and for the good of our country. And if you're not, I'm going to be very disappointed in you. I will tell you right now.
I'm telling you what, I'm hearing the Pence just caved.
No.
Is that true?
I didn't
I'm hearing
no.
reports that Pence caved.
No
I'm
way.
telling you, if Pence caved, we're going to drag through the streets. Bring him out!
Bring out Pence!
Bring him out!
Bring out Pence!
Bring him out!
Bring out Pence!
So there we're seeing this massive crowd. I remember seeing folks after all this happened, people were pulling up lawn chairs, sitting out in front of the Capitol. A lot of people were yelling horrific racist comments, racial slurs. I remember the video or you talking about you telling somebody, well, my vote matters. I voted for Joe Biden. My vote matters. When you look at what that crowd looked like, and you think about some of the things that crowd said, I just wonder what connections you make between those folks, white supremacy, the Republican Party, and where we are in this country today.
So it's a lot to unpack there,
Yeah.
what you just said. I will say that I don't believe that everybody involved with the riot on January 6th was a racist, but there were a lot of racist people there. Like, I hate using absolutes, like everybody there. No, I don't believe that, but a lot of them were there, and now it's so much to unpack there. Like which way do you go? But you know, how ironic or hypocritical is it that you know the Republican side made something a big deal about CRT being, and now their talking point is now it's the replacement theory. So wait, like we're talking about facts and what happened to us, and y'all talking about something that y'all think is going to happen.
Right.
And a lot of people that were there that day embrace that narrative that they're trying to be replaced. And while people say this whole January 6th committee is politicized and they're just making it a partisan show, it's, you know, January 6th happened because of politics. So you can't take politics out of an investigation that's about politics. The reason January 6th happened is because they thought an election was being stolen, which is a political thing, you know, so.
Yeah.
It's so much to unpack.
Yeah,
there. Like,
yeah.
we could
I mean,
go
the
forever.
country's
Like,
trying to
how much
unpack
time
it,
you got?
right?
You know, we could just talk
The
about
country's
forever.
trying to unpack it.